to my sewing room. We have a really wonderful show in mind for you today. The title of the show and the main theme is called Shadow Smocking. Now, what is shadow smocking? Well, you're going to soon find out. For those of you that don't know how to smock yet, let me just show you this little pleater. This is how you get the pleats into the fabric before you begin your embroidery. This pleater is the Dr. Joe pleater, and it has the thread, spools down here and some Velcro to hold it. But for those of you that wonder how those pretty even pleats get in there, you use a pleater that is sometimes called a smocking machine. I thought I would just show that to you since a lot of you have asked me about it. Now, what is shadow smocking? A very gorgeous technique recently brought back into the eye of the public by Kay Giles. These are her model garments. First of all, this beautiful little dress has traditional French sewing here. Now, what I want you to look at is this area right in here. It looks like there's a blue piece of fabric sewn to a white piece of fabric. Well, that's not really the way it is. There's a blue piece of fabric, wavy, that's in behind the white piece of fabric, and it looks like a shadow of blue peeking through. The next shadow smocking is really wonderful. After some hand embroidery on this traditional little French dress, the pleats have been run through. Now, do you see it looks like we have a pink heart in the middle? Well, that was because there was some pink fabric put in behind the white fabric, and it makes it a shadow through. By the way, this dress is back smocked. You see the smocking is on the back rather than on the front. Another beautiful piece of the shadow smocking is in this lovely dress with this part looks like it's a robin's egg blue fabric. Well, it is, but it's behind the white fabric. In other words, there are two layers of fabric up here. The robin's egg in behind and the white batiste on the top, and they're pleated together. I'm going to show you all about this in just a few minutes. And you see the little hand-done silk ribbon roses? This dress is also back smocked. You can see the pleats are held together, but you don't see any smocking, so we know that it has been back smocked. This is an adorable way of using shadow smocking. This beautiful little dress, of course it probably should be used around Easter time, has Easter eggs. And it looks as if there is a robin's egg, a yellow and a blue Easter egg that's been stitched down. That is not the case. There is blue fabric behind the white fabric here, yellow behind the white, and robin's egg blue behind the white. And you can also see once again that the smocking is done from behind. I wanted to show you the back of this little pinafore too. It is so adorable. It has a little keyhole in the back. I think that's one of the cutest little pinafores that I've ever seen. Won't you come along with me and let me share with you the techniques of shadow smocking. Shadow smocking is really very easy, and I'm going to show you how right now. This beautiful little dress, remember I showed you a minute ago, that has the shadow smocked heart in the middle and also has some silk ribbon embroidery on top. Now, how in the world do you know how much pink to go behind this white fabric? That's what I'm going to show you right now. First of all, you take an old scrap piece of fabric and you run it through the pleating machine and pull it up. See, this is the side that's pleated correctly. Then I lay a heart template down and kind of draw around the heart template. That's step number one. Now, I stretch it out, make it flat again, pull it out with the strings, and it'll have little dots that look like that. Just go ahead and take your pen and join those dots, and then I will draw off a template. This is the template that I've just made by pulling up the smocking and pulling it out. That looks like a peculiar heart, but in just a minute you'll see it's going to be a pretty heart. Then I take this heart, I cut it out of fabric, whatever color I want for my shadow. I bring it to the back of the skirt. This is going to be a white batiste dress. I bring it to the back and I tiny zigzag right on the edge of that fabric. I zigzag it to the skirt. Then I run it through the pleating machine, and looky here, it all of a sudden looks like a heart again, and I can pull it just a little bit and arrange it just a little bit. Now that is from the back side. You see that's kind of a bright peach. As you will see right here, when I turn it over to make it a shadow, then it is very much a shadowed peach. Now mostly on shadow smocking, we smock from the back. This little dress is back smocked. You do not see any smocking on the front, it's on the back. And there's a little embroidery stitch that goes around the shadow part. And then this is silk ribbon embroidery that is done on top. Come on over here and let me share with you a few more of these tricks. Now you remember, we first of all pleated up that piece of fabric, traced on a template, then stretched it out. That's how I got my template. Here is my funny looking heart template, but it isn't going to be funny looking in just a minute. Then I put it onto the fabric and simply, I'm talking a really super simple zigzag. I just simply go around it with a tiny, tiny zigzag. I have a 1 length and a 1.5 width, and I'm just going to zigzagging this heart right to my fabric on the dress before I do any pleating. Okay, lift it up and come around. That's nothing in the world but a simple zigzag. Now then, I'm going to bring the pleater up here because some of you have not seen how to run a pleater or smocking machine. I've got a piece ready to show you how to do it. All right, let me bring the pleater up here. This is the Dr. Joe pleater. There are several pleaters on the market. And now I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to get the fabric. This is the fabric. I'm going to show you what I'm going to do to get it ready to run through the pleater. I have a dowel stick, and I'm going to simply place it on the dowel stick. I'm going to roll it up real quickly. This is very easy to do. Using a pleater is so easy and so much fun. And you know, 300 years ago when they first did smocking, or 400 years ago to be more accurate, they didn't have one of these little pleaters. They had to draw up those dots by hand. I don't think I would have done much smocking if I would have had to have done that. Now I'm going to run the stick through the end plates on this pleater, and I'm going to look to see where to line it up. I'm going to line it up on one of these needles that I do not have threaded. I'm going to then run it through, and I have to look over the back here to be sure I'm keeping it straight. And then I will run it through the pleater. You can see the little peach heart is beginning to show up. And when I get what we call getting the needles loaded, if you look right here, you'll see the needles are kind of loaded. Then all I do is slip it off the needles. The threads are going to stay right in there. I slip it off the needles, and now then I'm ready to run it again. All you do is just watch where you're running it through. All right, it's loaded up again, and now I'm ready to pull it off. Let me just show you what this looks like after it's run through. This is the side that you were looking at with the pleating, and then I can either smock on this, smock on this side or this side. And I also, because I smock on the back, then I will take a decorative stitch of some kind, a split stitch, a feather stitch, or else I can also gather some lace to go around this after it is smocked on the back. And if you want a brighter look, you use this side of the heart. If you want a more of a shadowed look, you use this side of the heart. Okay, I'll go ahead and finish running this through the pleater now. And actually, I usually stand up when I do this. And after I finish it, I can pull it off the pleater. And when you have when you use this pleater, because I have the bobbins loaded up down here, I can then get another piece of fabric ready. I don't have to stop and pull it off. I can get another piece of fabric ready and run it through too. Now remember once again what we did. You get a dowel stick, and to run it through the pleater, what I do is I just roll it on this stick. It's very easy to do, except I'm going to have to turn my little heart around because I'm rolling it backwards. Not really, I'll just turn it around. You roll it on the dowel stick. This just kind of keeps it out of the way. Here we go. Then I put it in here, run it through the back, and I watch to see where it's supposed to be guided. Now people, I really usually stand up when I do this because it's easier to watch and make it go straight. If you can see my fingers right here, when you run it through the pleater, if you will take your fingers and just kind of go like this, run straight out, that will also keep it very smooth at the end. And then I will try to keep it straight sitting down, but I just run it right through. My little peach heart is beginning to go through the pleater, and when my needles get loaded, once again, I will just pull it off like this. And with all these bobbins on the end, I'll just go ahead and pull this one off, and I can pleat 45 things if I want to without ever having to rethread. All right, I'll keep on pleating, keep on pleating, keep on pleating. See how easy it is to use the pleating machine? And then you just slip the pleats off, and I can just keep right on. I can do as many pieces as I want to do because I've got all these bobbins down here. That means I really don't have to rethread. Now then, I've shown you a little bit about how to do, well, not a little bit, I've shown you everything there is to know about how to do the preparation for shadow smocking. And now we have a beautiful shadow smocked home decorating project for you. Shadow smocking is just as wonderful used for home decorating as it is for little girls' dresses. I'm going to show you something special. This pillow I absolutely adore. Can you see that there is a printed fabric that's in behind there? Beautiful silk ribbon flowers made by hand, and oh my goodness, there's puffing in the middle. So I have a fabric behind here, a fabric behind here. The smocking, the actual smocking stitches were made on the back. Shadow smocking, that means it's back smocked, and I love the silk ribbon flowers. Now, how in the world did we make this beautiful pillow? Well, here we go. First of all, remember I told you get a scrap piece of fabric and you pleat it up. Then take your whatever size scallops you want, you go ahead and draw them on there all the way across, and then we're going to stretch it out. I have to lay it out flat and connect those dots. Now somehow I'm going to have to get a template in here, so I lay a piece of construction paper down and go from dot to dot, actually trace along there, and I know this is what my template is going to look like. Now, since I wanted to use a printed fabric, I have see that long template is right there. I pinned the printed fabric behind. I straight stitched to hold it together and zigzagged the printed fabric in there. Of course, you're not going to use black thread. Then I pleated up again, and this is what I have after I do the pleating. And you see, after you pleat, you can kind of stretch it out and make it pretty and get it the way you want it. And actually, you know, when you do your smocking on the back, that will straighten it up and make it even also. Now, some of you probably like that pretty puffing. As a matter of fact, I'm going to bring this pillow back over here again and once again talk about the pretty puffing in the middle. Now, you know we've back smocked here. So how did that pretty puffing come about? Well, that was pretty easy. These threads in here, the smocking machine, the pleating threads, there are 2 rows right here that are not going to be smocked on at all because it doesn't have that dark fabric. So the first thing I'm going to do is simply pull those 2 threads out, and now that releases these, and then they're going to later just become puffing. Now a little bit of this row will come out later too. Well, all the pleating threads will come out, but then that is how you get the puffing in here. It won't have any smocking behind it. It will just be puffing. And that is how easy it is to make the shadow smocked pillow. I want to show you one more little detail on this pillow that I think is really beautiful. It's the lace edge and the ruffle edge. And by the way, there's also some piping done with the batiste over the printed fabric. See this really full lace edging here? And then there's a double ruffle that I think that's one of the prettiest finishes you can have, is the little tiny delicate piping, the very, very full French lace gathered on the double ruffle. And now for those of you that like home decorating items really, really tailored, I have another pillow for you. You know, I promised you a really super easy project every now and then. I'm talking super easy. Well, this is it. This really elegant pillow is done in 3 different types of silk dupioni: a solid pink, a pink and off-white stripe, and once again another pink and off-white stripe, except it's a little bit wider. Simply has some triangles folded over and a little frog that has been glued on. Now this pillow takes almost no time to make. Let me just share with you how easy it is. First of all, I need a large rectangle for the front, whatever size you want, and exactly the same thing for the back. Now that's pretty simple. Then I'm going to, first of all, I've got to make this triangle. So I'm going to use the striped silk dupioni and the solid pink silk dupioni, and I'm going to stitch down 2 sides. I've already stitched one side, so I'm going to just straight stitch down the other side, and then I'll be able to turn it right side out and make my triangle. And And of course, I'm not going to sew over any pins. Okay. I will turn it right side out and use a press. Of course, press it and push the point in and make a little triangle. Actually, I've already done that for you, so I think I'm just going to pull this one over here. After I turn it right side out and press it, I will put one part of the triangle down, either one you want it to. I like to have the stripe up, so I'll put the stripe down, then fold the pink back. I will do the same thing on this side and then get some kind of a purchased frog. I thought this one was really pretty and the other one was pretty also. Glue the frog down, then I will take the back to this, right sides to right sides. Place one on the other, simply stitch all the way around it, turn it right side out, and stuff it. Now that is an easy pillow. You know, I think that sometimes using 3 different fabrics really is a real fun thing to do. We're doing some new drapes for our den, and when I had looked at this pillow, I thought, well, I am certainly going to have one of those pillows because we're using three prints. One of them's kind of a stripe, and one of them kind of flower, and one of them's kind of something in between. So this is a wonderful, really easy pillow to use 3 different fabrics, and of course you can make it in anything you wanted, so it would be a perfect fit in any room in your house or for a gift. And now I have a beautiful doll dress to share with you. This doll dress is one of my absolute favorite scallop skirts that I've ever seen. I think you'll like it too. The dress is made out of a cotton and linen blend, not a real expensive fabric, but a very elegant one. The gathered lace and entredeaux is around the neckline. This is a little purchased Swiss motif, but if you have an embroidery machine, you can make one yourself. Now then, the pretty little scallops start right here at the waistline, and there is a pin stitch which attaches this and the little gathered lace. Now come down and look at this skirt. I think you will agree with me. It is truly spectacular. It has almost a little curve like a bell shape scallop, and then we come over here and there's some little triangles and little scallops down below the triangles, and all of this has been attached with either pin stitch or a wing needle entredeaux. And you can also see there is nice full gathered French lace edging on the bottom. Okay, I'm ready to shape a little lace. This particular dress has 2 of the 3 types of lace shaping. It has curved lace and has mitered lace, and I'm going to share with you now how to do both of those. To curve laces, as on this first layer of scalloping, I put pins around the outside edge. Now I have a little trouble here. That doesn't look like it's going to lay down too well, but I'm going to take a pin. You know what, I'm going to come up here and pin this one more time. Now I'm going to take a pin. I'm going to find the little gathering thread that is in all French laces, and I'm going to pull on that thread, and I want you to see what happened. It lay down just beautifully. So that is how you curve lace. That's step number 1, and it's really very easy. All right, now I need a miter right here. So I'm going to come in. I've got a pin at the top, a pin at the bottom. I'm going to fold this lace back on itself, remove the bottom pin, and bring it around, and I have a perfect miter folded in. Now you've just curved lace and mitered lace. You're going to put 2 layers of scallops on this pretty little doll dress. You see, that was the lace I was just working on, the layer I was just working on. Then we're going to do another layer of scalloping, and I did a little over and under technique here. Let's look right here. I took this layer and went under this lace, then I went over the other lace, and now I go under the lace. That's kind of what I call over and under the bridge. It really is a quick technique from the quilting industry, where you sometimes take a piece and go up and under. Now then, this is another little trick. I'm going to add the gathered lace to the bottom. Now this is going to be a scallop skirt, but I want to show you something. It isn't a scallop skirt yet. Do you see that nice straight skirt there? Only after everything has been done and finished will I cut away this. I'm still working on a scallop skirt, but it is not a scallop skirt yet. All right, I've pulled the gathering threads, and then I'm going to go in and attach this gathered lace with a wing needle entredeaux stitch. Do you have to have a wing needle entredeaux stitch on your sewing machine to do this? No, you do not. You can just zigzag. Okay, I'm going to stitch a little bit for you now. I have a stabilizer. Anytime I do wing needle entree work, I do have a tearaway or a wash away stabilizer, and I prefer tearaway. Now then, I am going to do wing needle entree, and I am attaching both the flat lace and the gathered lace. Now I'm sewing in a slight curve, but one of the real tricks of wing needle entree work is to sew straight even in a curve. And you're going to say, oh well, Martha, now how in the world do you do that? Well, these curves are so slight. I am sewing straight now, and then I'm going to probably be able to veer it just a little bit and sew straight again. You notice I'm using my shish kebab stick. It's very important to kind of get those little gathers straightened out a little bit, but it's okay for them not to be even. Now I'm going to sew straight as long as I can. I'm not going to push or pull this entree stitch. It is very critical that you let it sew straight. If you start doing a lot of veering, those little holes will not be where they're supposed to be. All right, now if you can press the stop button, if you want it to stop at exactly the end of the pattern, end of the stitch pattern. Now see, it's stopped, because I do have to veer around just a little bit in the next direction, and I do not want a piece of an entree stitch there. I would like for it to be where I can sew straight. And even though this is a slight curve, I can still sew straight. Well, I better take the stop button off, or that'll be the slowest entree stitching known to humanity. Now I'm still sewing straight. It is real critical when you do wing needle entree work that you sew straight until you have to start curving. You don't want to start pulling it around, or else the holes will not hit where they're supposed to hit. And now then, I would like for you to join me in my attic. I have a very beautiful and yet very tailored blouse for you. This blouse is made out of a real heavy linen, not even a handkerchief linen, just a good heavy, as my grandmother used to say, substantial fabric. It has 5 beautiful folded tucks on each side of the center, and it's this beautiful embroidery in the middle that I just thought you would love. And by the way, this is definitely hand embroidery, and it's such an elegant design with its swirls and its eyelets. As a matter of fact, I believe everything, the little leaves, the little flowers, everything is an eyelet. Absolutely beautiful, and all made completely by hand. For our Sewing from the Heart for today, I have a letter from my friend Carol Veely at Fabric Mart in Naples, Florida. Dear Martha, to celebrate National Sewing Month and the Year of Volunteerism, our store wanted to reach out to our community and provide something of comfort to our local sick children. We decided to enlist the help of different organizations and groups, such as the Sewing Guild, the church groups, the quilt groups, the women's circles, and area high schools to cut, sew, and serge children's quilts. We used Kay Wood's 6-hour quilt pattern with some minor modifications. Our original goal was to donate 50 quilts to the Pediatric Oncology Unit last September. To the credit and hard work of over 100 volunteers, we surpassed our goal. 101 quilts were handed out with love. This is an ongoing project that shares our love of sewing and puts a smile on the face of a very sick child. Sincerely, Carol Veely from Fabric Mart in Naples, Florida. This little quilt is so adorable. It has a cat fabric, and then we come down with a solid fabric, and then 3 adorable little kitty cats, one holding a heart, one just with some little, looks like little paws, cat paws behind it, and one all tangled up in yarn are in the center section. And then of course the cute little fabrics are around it. And you know what I want to show you too? Let me turn this over if I can and show you what is on the back. This one says, "Stitched with Love," from Fabric Mart, and then there are 2 names on there written in a permanent ink. So those names show the 2 people that worked together to make this very, very special quilt to be sent over to the Children's Hospital. I would like to thank all of you for all of your volunteer work that you're doing with your sewing machines. I would like to thank all of you for joining me in my sewing room today, and issue a special invitation to come back next time.